Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, what is the equation of the line in the graph shown below? So, what is it that I'm looking for? I'm looking for the equation of the line. Okay, and I do have a graph, right? And remember that whenever we have a graph, we have a chance, not all the time, right? But we can give it a try to find the slope by doing rise over run. Okay, now remember, the only time that rise over run works is if I can actually find some points that are not decimals. Okay, remember, I do not want any decimals here. Okay, and then of course I need to find the y-intercept, because in order for me to write down an equation, I need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so let's start with rise over run. Okay, so I have it right here. This is the way that we're gonna find the slope. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I need to find some points on the line. Is that right? So let's go ahead and analyze the line, and we say, you know what, this is a good point. I can see that one right there. I can see another one here, right? So as long as you find 2 points, that's all we need to find the slope. And then we can actually follow the rise over run and find the other points that we feel they might be there, okay? But if you want to, you can say, well, miss, I can see another point here, right? And so on and so forth. So right now, we're going to start with the one in the middle, okay? So I'm going to go from the middle to the right. So let's see, let's do the rise. That's 1 and 2. So I can go 2 up, 1, 2, and 3 to the right. Okay, so let's continue. What about if I want to continue doing the 2 up and 3 to the right? So from there, I'm going to go 2 up and 3 to the right. That's 1, that's 2, and this is 3. And yes, I can see another point on the line. So I think my rise over run is pretty solid, right? So the rise is 2 up and 3 to the right. Now, what does it mean by 2 up? It means positive, right? So I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to say 2 positive, and that 3, since I went to the right, it's also positive. So this is my slope, 2/3. Okay, now if you want to, we can actually continue the rise over run to find more points, but I don't see any more points that I can find like going up. The other points that I see are more to the bottom, right? So guess what? We're gonna need to do the opposite. Okay, so instead of going 2 up, I'm gonna go 2 down. And then instead of going 3 to the right, I'm gonna go 1, 2, and 3 to the left. Okay, so notice how I'm doing the opposite. Okay, so I'm going 2 down and 3 to the left. And I know what you're thinking, Miss, that's like different than my answer, because every time I think about down, I think about -2. And if I think about left, I think about -3. Yeah, and you're right. But if you were to put that in the calculator, or if you think about the rules, a negative divided by a negative is actually a positive. Is that right? So we can prove right now that the -2 over -3 is the same as 2 over 3, because my rise over run works. So let's continue. I'm going to do 2 down, and then 1, 2, and 3 to the left. Again, 2 down, 1, 2, and 3 to the left. So it's working, right? 2 down, 1, 2, and 3. So all the points that I found, they are all on the line. Okay, so I can see my slope as 2 over 3. So we're good. What about the y-intercept? Well, I can think about this as my y-axis, right? And I see one point that is on that line, and that point is right here. Is that correct? What number it's in there? What number it's my point on? Well, this point is -1. So I'm going to say that my y-intercept, and I'm going to write it down over here. I don't need to do any equations for this, right? That's the beauty about the graph. So the y-intercept, I can write it as an ordered pair, as a 0 and -1, but I can also write down b equals -1, okay? Notice how here my b is -1, but also my y coordinate is -1. So that is my y-intercept, okay? So what do I need to do next? Well, now I need to replace my m slope and the big y-intercept on the equation, right? And the equation that I'm going to use is the one that I have on the right side, and that equation is slope-intercept form. So let me write it down over here. So this one is called slope-intercept form. So the only two things that I need to replace are going to be the m and the b, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to write down y equals m is 2/3. So I'm going to write down 2/3 of x. The b is -1. Therefore, I can write down -1. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Miss, my answer doesn't match any of the answer choices. Of course not. Because if you notice, my answer has y and x on two different sides. A, B, C, and D, well, most of them, right, except for C, they all have x and y on the same side. So we're going to need to manipulate my equation so that I can have x and y on the same side. So how do I do that? Well, I need to get my 2/3, get him away from the right side. So I'm going to subtract him on both sides. Remember, whatever you do on one side, you do it to the other side. So I'm going to rewrite my left side. And I get negative 2/3 of x plus y equals, what happened to my 2/3 of x? They cancel, and what is left? Just the -1. Still, my answer doesn't look like the other ones, right? No, because I have a fraction, so I need to get rid of the denominator. How do I get rid of the denominator? Well, I'm going to need to multiply everything, not just the left, everything needs to be multiplied by the denominator, which is 3, okay? So what's going to happen is I'm going to multiply 3 times my negative 2/3, 3 times the y, and 3 times the -1, okay? So if I multiply negative 2/3 of x times a 3, I am going to get, my 3's are going to cancel, so I'm going to get only negative 2x. If I multiply 3 times the y, I get plus 3y. And there's my equal sign. Then I multiply -1 times 3, and I get -3. And that will be my answer. Okay? And see if you can find anything like this on the answer choices. Yes, letter A looks like that, right? Okay, very good.